when Jacob Zuma visited the European Union Parliament and was confronted by Flemish nationalist MPs from Belgium, from Holland, and also from German Social Democrats on the situation in South Africa. Many of the questions they asked were on the genocide in South Africa, the crime situation in South Africa, the levels of corruption, and these questions were passed on to the head of the EU Civil Service and Commission, Manuel Barroso, who was sitting next to Jacob Zuma quite uncomfortably at the time. Now, two of these questions, to be precise, were sparked by my contacts with somebody on YouTube who gave me the Flemish MEP's email address, and I sent him some letters and documentation on the situation in South Africa and whether he would raise it. So I cannot claim credit for the cross-party from left to right. Even Eurosceptics were taking part in this cross-party group of both nationalists, moderate conservatives and social democrats to ask questions of Jacob Zuma. But I was shocked mostly that my question got to be heard, and that was about the farm murders in South Africa. And my second question was whether, if it could be directed to Barroso, and I was lucky enough that he was there at the time, whether there would be any economic consequences for South Africa. Now, the South African regime, I was pressing more for sanctions against the ANC themselves. But to my amazement, Barroso did actually turn to Zuma and say we would reconsider our economic ties with South Africa and the ANC government if there wasn't a resolution to the crime wave. Now, this is EU speak for covering up the fact that there is a genocide in South Africa against both the Boers and the Xhosa by a mainly now Zulu-led ANC. From a Eurosceptic perspective, but from a pro-European perspective, it's perhaps the only way the EU can get past the racial issue of actually talking about South Africa in terms of individual civil rights, their right to life, and their property, which is what is being attacked by the farm murders in South Africa. So here you have it. You have blogging and democracy in action. But I cannot claim that Julius Malema lost his job because of my question. I cannot claim that. It would be dishonest of me to say that. But it does make me think as to whether the EU is very much aware, and I believe they are, given Barroso's reaction, to the situation in South Africa, and also I believe the Americans from various radio shows that I've listened to on the situation of the Boers trying to claim asylum in America, that legal process is continuing on. And probably the Americans are very much aware of South Africa as a strategic place for them, because of course if the Suez Canal was ever cut off by China or any of its allies in the region, then South Africa would once again become an important port for American shipping, and many tankers can't get through the Suez Canal, they're just too big. So I'm sure the Americans are taking a keen interest in South Africa. However, for a black American president to talk about the Boers being exterminated, it would perhaps lose in votes, and that's why he's not talked about it, in my view. However, as Jacob Zuma thus became the one who was uncomfortable in the seat as Barroso challenged him on the situation there. It's clear that he must have been not only assessing what was happening in the wider strategic assessment, or at least his advisors would be. He himself must have been thinking about whether there was any political move against him in his own country. And African leaders have been particularly keen to remove any challenge to their leadership in the course of post-war history and perhaps before. And Julius Malema's attention and popularity among the Zulu youth perhaps made Zuma, who is a Zulu himself, perhaps still uneasy. The reason for this is because there are many competing factors within the ANC. Thatcher, for instance, gave money and arms to the ANC during her time in power. So that is a link of the ANC with ultra-conservatism and the New World Order, or whatever you want to call it. Ultra-conservatism and oil companies. But it was more the mining companies that were more important in South Africa for ultra-conservatives to get hold of. And so, although they are enemies, they have a community of interest with ANC communists because they want to control the labour unions, which the ANC has under its umbrella organisation. In the 80s, thus you had the crucible of the Soviet Union sending arms to the ANC and the British Conservative government sending money and arms to the ANC. Well, fundamentally, the Boers are a Christian people. I'm not religious at all, but that may have been one of the reasons why Thatcher was motivated against them. The problem is that as the ANC has got no apartheid struggle for its new members, it has to turn to some other unifying factor, and that is black racism, because it's the only thing that can conceal the real power struggle that is going on in the ANC between Zulu nationalists and Xhosa nationalists, of which Mandela and Mbeki were the old guard, and they've been since intimidated by Julius Malema and the ANC Youth League and other factions within the ANC. So you're seeing internal factionary rivalry in the ANC, and that was what led to the political downfall of Julius Malema. Although he was part of a court case led mainly by the old system of laws in South Africa, which were created by Europeans, mostly the British and the Boers themselves. It was the actual African issues of the maintaining of power by what the Africans call the big men, of which Jacob Zuma would be a candidate for that title. It is a tribal issue, because the ANC Youth League under Malema made themselves a distinctive faction, a distinctive tribe in a sense, although he is a Zulu and Zuma is a Zulu. The Zulus have not been one cohesive force throughout history. As Dingain showed, he sided with the Boers against a different Zulu faction for the title of the kingship, which led to, of course, the treaty between Dingain, which was recognised by the British and later the UN as the Boers having a distinctive right to be in South Africa. Now, Afrikanner Wikileaks would like to claim the political scalp of Julius Malema, but it's just not the case. But I would like to claim it as a victory for all South Africans who believe in democracy, liberty and equality and balance and human rights, because this man is a man who has inspired the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people.